how small of all that human hearts endure, that part which laws or kings can cause or cure. That comes from Samuel Johnson, and I'd like to have it inscribed on every legislature, every executive office building in every democracy in the world, and perhaps also in newsrooms, because so little of what happens in the political arena is really fundamental to our lives. As Andrew Breitbart liked to say, politics is downstream from culture. And politicians, they don't create the parades they scurry to get in front of. They just want to lead them wherever they're going anyway. And to underline how much that is true, I want to bring up something that happened on June 23rd of 1960 that would not have made the front pages. The US FDA approved the pill. Okay, I mean, there were a lot of pills in the 1960s, right? There's Mick Jagger's little yellow pill. There's that little purple one that Augustus Owsley Stanley was so good at making. But you know the one I mean, the birth control pill. And making this available to women had an effect on culture that transcended, John Kennedy being elected. Kennedy choosing Lyndon Johnson as his running mate, which after the assassination meant that you got a Southerner committed to civil rights in the White House. Not that it wasn't important, but the pill mattered far more than that. Far more than whether Lester Pearson ever managed to get a parliamentary majority. The fact that he brought Pierre Trudeau to Ottawa. Again, these are all things that are significant, and they would have dominated the newspapers. But behind it all was the change in behavior. Because feminists can theorize all they like, but women could not adopt anything resembling the sexual behavior of men until they had a backstop against unwanted pregnancy. And when that came along, everything changed. You may recall the so-called first wave feminists, the ones originally agitating for the vote in the 19th century, your Elizabeth Cady Stantons and that kind of people. They emphasized the differences between men and women. They said women had to have political influence because they thought differently than men. They would be less likely to go to war, less indifferent to injustice, more prone to expand the power of the state. May have been right on that one, but that's a subject for another day. But the fact is they emphasized the differences. And the second generation feminism that said women essentially were men who happened to have different bodies and was this huge misunderstanding, they never would have gotten anywhere until the pill meant that in intimate matters it was possible to some degree to behave as though that was true. I don't think it's entirely true. The pill didn't make it entirely true. It didn't even entirely prevent unwanted pregnancies. All kinds of other vital differences exist, and the fact that we are studiously ignoring them is giving us problems. But again, that's a subject for another day. The point here is that the coming of reliable birth control that a woman could take that didn't require the male participation. She could take the pill whether he wanted to or not, whether he knew she was doing it or not, altered the dynamics in our society in truly fundamental ways. Far more. I mean, yes, it was an act by a regulatory agency that approved it, but it was the existence of the pill and the effect the pill had that made these huge changes. And I should say one more thing. The idea that we should flood women's bodies with hormones in a dramatic departure from her natural cycle strikes me as one that is, among other things, very profoundly not green. I don't know why environmentalists are so keen on this stuff. They wouldn't let you do it to the river. Why do they let you do it to the bodies of half of the human race? But however that may be, this is the kind of thing that makes a huge difference to what human hearts endure, for better or worse. There should be some humility on the part of politicians, some restraint in their urge to try and change our lives, recognizing that they are not the ones in charge. There should be more attention in the press to the notion that although politics is easy to cover, it's not the stuff that matters most. And for the rest of us, it emphasizes this critical point: politics is downstream of culture. If we want to make a difference in public affairs, we have to change how we think and act, whether it's through pharmacological discoveries, through ideas, through profound works of literature. Again, Uncle Tom's Cabin changed the debate on slavery in the United States far more than any act of a legislature could possibly have done, even though it was triggered by one. So pay attention to the culture and the politics will fix itself. Ignore the culture and you can do nothing about the politics except wail, gnash your teeth, and make donations that are a complete waste of money. When you're tempted to write that check, think first of what happened on June 23rd, 1960. Think of the pill and think of how that changed the world. And ask yourself, if I want to change the world, is it really going to be through political action, or do I have to go to where the human hearts are?
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.